are you assessing turnout statewide, including those areas impacted by the fires?
Yeah, the turnout is probably going to be around 35 to 40%. It looks like it's about 2% lower than it was about 4 years ago, which is the measure that we use. There's going to be areas that will be higher because there's contested congressional races going on there and legislative races. Spokane is one to watch simply because of this disaster that's happened in that area.
How secure are Washington's ballot drop boxes, and what should voters know about why the state relies on them so heavily?
Well, they're very secure, and most people actually use them, especially during the even years. Many drop boxes have cameras on them. Many drop boxes are built ruggedly so that you can't just destroy them. And it takes two people to empty out a drop box. So it's not just one person that empties out a drop box. Many drop boxes are emptied out on a daily basis, depending on the area they're at, to make sure they're not overflowing. In rural areas, it might be a little less. The best thing to do is to go online at your local county or go to your Washington State Secretary of State's website and go see for yourself the location of these drop boxes.
Tell us a little bit more about checking drop box locations and voting center options for people who need help last minute.
Yes, the best thing to do is to go to the county website and see where they're located at, or go to the Secretary of State's office. The other thing you can do is you can call your local county election center, and they will be more than happy to tell you where to go. Go to the actual county itself, and they can help you there as well.
And then,
go ahead. Sorry. If by chance you really want to go to a post office and mail it, go to the post office counter, ask for a postmark. Then it can be counted. But just go to a drop box. It's easier.
And then finally, our state is an all mail-in state, and people often, especially in this time, are concerned about security of their ballots. How secure are our elections?
They are very secure. There's audits before and after the election. We have databases that talk to other databases, so we know when people register twice or vote in the same election twice. We know when people pass away. And if you don't take my word for it, go to your local county election center and actually see for yourself. They'd love to have you there as an observer. You can talk to the county auditor, election workers there, and ask the questions that you need. Don't keep it to yourself. Don't be angry about it. Don't let it be a mystery. Ask the questions, because our elections are transparent, secure, and accessible.
Secretary of State Steve Hobbs, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
President Trump has been, of course, targeting mail-in ballots recently, and last week he asked the Supreme Court to allow his executive order to move forward. That was after an appellate court declined. That would curb mail-in voting. He wants a decision before the midterm election. 23 Democratic-led states, including Washington, sued to stop that executive order. They argued that the Constitution leaves it up to the states to run their elections, not the White House. The president also pushing Congress to add proof of citizenship and voter ID requirements in every state during federal elections.
We want to keep America great, and we will do so by approving the Save America Act, which means all voters must show voter ID. There will be no mail-in ballots.
Washington Secretary of State Steve Hobbs, who you just heard from a moment ago, says as a mail-in voting state, Washington voters would have to mail a copy of their identification with every ballot. He also says adding those requirements would cost the state and taxpayers millions of dollars.
Let's talk about people voting by mail, which our state has done for a very long time, the security of our elections, and how confident they should feel about the results.
They should feel confident. We've had more experience with mail-in ballots than most states, and we've figured out where the wrinkles were and ironed them out over the years. And there's no evidence of widespread fraud or really any fraud at this point.
Say that one more time.
There's no evidence of fraud at this point in mail-in balloting in Washington State.
From a Republican.
Right. So and people favor mail-in balloting. They like the convenience of it. They like to have time to fill out their ballots.
Exactly. I mean, I will point out we're still waiting for King County to drop the ballots.
There is that, but people were also kind of, as Reuven said earlier, we're kind of used to having to wait to get results in close races. But we're used to it, and so I don't. By the way, I've been tracking the Supreme Court and the federal court challenges to Trump's executive order on mail-in voting. It's going to be struck down. It's been struck down in the trial court. It's been struck down in the Court of Appeals. The Supreme Court is not going to uphold it because the Constitution assigns responsibility for managing elections and running elections to the states. That's very clear.
What about the idea that they are tying funds to states giving up their voter rolls, which a lot of people are concerned about?
That will also be challenged in court, and I think the administration will lose there.
Before
as well.
November.
I think the administration will lose on that.
Thoughts?
You also have to recognize that mail-in ballots are extremely important to our veterans and to our military service members around the world, seniors. So a lot of states that have day of voting do not have systematic mail-in ballot, very much still have high levels of participation in absentee or mail-in ballots.
Which
so it's
is
very popular around this country.
I think Ruben makes a really important point, and I think it's one of the reasons the Supreme Court upheld the ability of states to count ballots that arrive after Election Day. Postmarked by Election Day, but arriving after Election Day, that was challenged. In I think it was Louisiana, and the Supreme Court said nope. You can count those mail-in ballots if they come in later, even though it's after Election Day. That was not a constitutional question, but a question of statutory interpretation. But I think the majority of that court was concerned about military and other overseas voters, in part, for reaching that conclusion.